Okay, so the next part of the Mass is the Kyria. So after the priest, we're going to start with the Latin Mass this time. After the priest is done with the prayers at the foot of the altar, he will approach the altar and he will say the introit verse. Okay, it's a special verse from, largely from the book of Psalms. And this is usually chanted by the choir while the prayers at the foot of the altar are going on. And then once he finishes this, he'll say the Kyria. Now, there is a difference between the Latin Mass and the Novus Ordo when it comes to the Kyria. In the Latin Mass, the priest begins saying Kyrie eleison, then the servers respond saying Kyrie eleison, then the priest once again says Kyrie eleison. So there's three, it's said 3 times, and then the server begins saying Christe eleison, then the priest says Christe eleison, then once again the servers say Christe eleison, and then Kyrie eleison with the priest, servers Kyrie eleison, and then the priest again concludes with Kyrie eleison. So it kind of goes full circle. Now, this part of the Mass is of course important because you're asking once more for God to have mercy on you, for Jesus Christ to have mercy on us, and the priest and the servers are kind of praying on our behalf. The servers represent the whole gathering, and the priest represents, leading us in prayer. So when we see that the Kyria is said 9 times in total, rather than 6 times, whereas in the Novus Ordo Mass, it is said 6 times. The priest says Kyrie eleison, and everyone replies Kyrie eleison. Then the priest says Christe eleison, and everyone responds Christe eleison. And then one last time, the priest says Kyrie eleison, and everyone responds Kyrie eleison. Now, it's quite obvious that there is something has been taken away, right? A third of the Kyria has been taken away. And I think the reason why that was done that way is because it's changed from that full circle, the priest begins, the priest ends, to focusing on that dialogue, right? Which we've talked about in another video. Is that dialogical aspect of Mass really what's important in the Mass? Or is it, the actual sacrifice? What's important to know about the Mass is that every element of the Mass is the holy sacrifice of the Mass. It's not just the Eucharist, it's not just the canon, everything. From the reading of the Word, to the Kyria, to the canon, it's all the holy sacrifice of the Mass. And we should be approaching it with that mentality. So, the Novus Ordo also allows for the possibility to change the Kyria, right? You can say, instead of Lord have mercy, you can say, you came to call sinners, Lord have mercy, and so on. I don't remember the entire formula right now, but there's I think 3 different ways that you can do it. And then if you do that, you can actually omit the confiteor. So you're already creating the opportunity for a fairly substantial lacking, right? A lot is possible to be removed. So after the Kyria is the Gloria on Sundays, which is largely the same in the Novus Ordo and in the Latin Mass. There was no words removed from the Gloria as far as I'm aware. However, what is removed in the Novus Ordo is many detailed actions that the priest performs during the Gloria. As we're singing the Gloria, as the priest is saying it, the priest has to be aware that he's bowing at the right time, that he's making the sign of the cross at the right time. In the Latin Mass, he is bound by the rubrics to do so. in the Novus Ordo, he is not required to make any such signs. I've never noticed a priest making the sign of the cross or bowing during the Gloria, save for at particularly good Novus Ordos, the priest bowing at the name of Jesus Christ. But other than that, I haven't seen I haven't seen the priest doing any of the other elements, like certain elements where certain points of the Gloria where he's supposed to make the sign of the cross and things like that. So, keeping this in mind, we should pay attention to the words of like previous popes. I don't have it offhand right now, but like I'm pretty sure during the Council of Trent there was a demand, a command from the magisterium that no small part of the holy sacrifice of the Mass can be changed. So, you know, again, I've said this before, the Novus Ordo Mass is completely valid, but we need to think about why this was changed and whether it was, like, people celebrate the Novus Ordo Mass with good intentions, and it is, I believe that the holy sacrifice of the Mass is always pleasing to God. You know, I'm not going to say, you know, like the SSPX, which I appreciate tremendously, claim that the Novus Ordo Mass, you have no obligation to attend Sunday Mass if there is only a Novus Ordo. I think that is preposterous. I think you're bound to attend any Mass on Sunday, and I think the Novus Ordo is completely valid. But that being said, you know, why were things changed? You know, what was the intention behind these changes? Were they really necessary after all? Or, you know, based on looking at the fruits of people attending the Latin Mass more and more, I think that the Church would do well to promote the extraordinary form more and more, which is simply going to happen naturally anyway, but we need to become more informed about it. You know, I think that's the only way that we can truly counter this modernism. There's a beautiful statue of Our Lady. So I hope this video was helpful, and I hope it'll encourage you to perhaps look into the Latin Mass more and try to experience it, and, you know, just like grow in faith and grow in understanding of the Mass. So thanks for watching. God bless.